So what did I do? I went back to school. $30,000. This was me. I borrowed $30,000 and I went to graduate school. It was pretty much the only thing I could do with a bachelor's degree in psychology that I couldn't do with just a high school diploma. So this was me. I borrowed $30,000. By the time I paid it off, it had doubled to $60,000, over $60,000. So then I graduated with another piece of paper on my wall that said I was a master instead of just a bachelor. And I went out to look for a job. And guess what? The city I was living in, I had moved back to South Dakota, and the city I was living in, there were so many therapists there. You had so many people in those positions that the market was completely saturated, and I couldn't get a job there. So I had to move again. So I got another job out of my field. I actually got a job in debt collections. And this job taught me a lot about finances. Our boss said, we're not a debt collection agency. Well, we were a debt collection agency in pretty much everything but name. But the reason he said that, and he had worked it out that way, is because we didn't have to follow the same rules as debt collection agencies, which was not ethical. But I learned a lot from working for this not debt collection agency because, as my boss said to me, the people out there have money and they're going to spend it on something. We want them to send it to us. We want them to spend it on us. So we would call people up and we would harass people and we would tell them they had to pay us. And we didn't care what kind of bills they had in their life. We wanted to be the squeakiest wheel to get the grease. Now, two things helped me get this job. One, I spoke Spanish, and they needed Spanish-speaking debt collectors. Two, I didn't tell them that I had a master's degree. I left that off of my resume. I lied. And the reason I didn't tell them that is because they would not have hired me if I did. Because they said, oh, you have a master's degree, you're going to get a much better job, and you're going to move on anyway. Well, that's what I ended up doing, is moving on and getting a better job. But I stayed with them for over 6 months. At the same time, I got a night position that was in my field. And of course, in a night position, you're not supposed to sleep. But I was working 2 jobs. And so I would sit on the sofa and watch TV on my downtime, and I might have nodded off a couple times. Don't tell my former boss. Around this time, I wanted to work my way up the corporate ladder. So I applied for a promotion. Well, this part of my life was interesting because I was brand new in the company, and guess what? Other people were getting promoted who'd been there longer, even though they did not have master's degrees. This company, I told I had a master's degree because it was in the field. And people with bachelor's degrees or associate's degrees were getting promoted before me because I hadn't been with the company very long. This turned out to be a cycle because in my new company, I was the new kid on the block, and I wouldn't get promoted there quickly as well, and then I would think about going to a different company. But not only that, I was always the runner-up. I was always the second person to be chosen. So the earlier that happens in your career, and as you go on in your career, it can make a huge difference. Now I'm 50 years old. I look really good for my age, thank you. But now I have people younger than me getting promoted before me because they have experience. Because back when we first started applying to be managers, they became a manager and I didn't. And now they have 10 years experience being a manager, and I don't.